Hello friends, in this video I wish to explain graphical representation of vectors. To represent any vector quantity graphically, we use a directed line segment and we can name its endpoints. This line segment has three characteristics. First one is line of action. It is essentially the line of which vector is a part. To denote a vector quantity, we can identify its initial and terminal point and put an arrowhead over the top to represent a vector quantity. We can also use a single lowercase letter to represent a vector quantity. Second property of the vector quantity is its length. बेसिकली ग्राफिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन में जो वेक्टर बनाया है उसकी लेंथ. तो लेंथ इट इज प्रोपोर्शनल टू द मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ वेक्टर. Now, along the line of action, the vector can act in either direction, forward or backward. So, the direction in which vector is acting is indicated by arrowhead. So, we impart a sense to the vector quantity. Is indicated by arrowhead. So if we are able to identify these three characteristics of the directed line segment, then we will be able to uniquely identify a vector quantity. I also use some notations to represent magnitude of a vector quantity. What exactly do I mean by magnitude? Suppose an object is moving with a speed of 20 meters per second towards east, then this can be complete specification for velocity of the object. Now, in this specification, 20 meters per second will be called magnitude of velocity, which is nothing but speed of the object. Now, to symbolically represent magnitude of a vector quantity, I can put bars around the vector sign, or I can just remove the vector sign to represent magnitude of the vector. Notation is based upon convenience. You can follow whichever notation is convenient to you. When we represent a vector quantity graphically, we have to specify, or rather indicate, direction in the graph. There are two convenient ways to represent direction of a vector quantity graphically. One method is we can represent the direction in terms of geographical directions. Suppose an object has a velocity of 10 meter per second in a direction 30 degrees north of east. Then we can draw a vector starting from origin at an angle of 30 degrees with respect to east in the north direction. This is one way of representing direction of a vector quantity graphically. Now we also said that magnitude of a vector should be made proportional to the length of the line segment representing a vector should be made proportional to the magnitude of vector. Now suppose in the same diagram I have to represent velocity of another object which is 5 meter per second at an angle of 60 degrees south of west. Then I will draw a vector whose length will be half of the first vector because the magnitude has been reduced to half the first case, and it will be at an angle of 60 degrees south of west. So we will be able to represent various vectors on the same graph paper if the need arises.